You know, if Shyamalan were to make another instant classic, at this point, wouldn't it take a village? Yeah, I know. Call it forced all you want. Unapologetic. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to yet another brand new movie review. And as always, I thank you all so much for stopping by, and I hope you enjoy your stay. And this time around, we are continuing our journey through M. Night Shyamalan's tumultuous up and down filmography. I've already looked at his first three classics, and today we're looking at The Village. Oh boy. Now, back in 2004, when this came out, I'm sure there were so many cinephiles who were hyped for this. And not only because Shyamalan was attached to it as the screenwriter and as the director, but this was easily the most star-studded cast he had assembled to date. I mean, here's the roll call for you. Joaquin Phoenix, Adrien Brody, Sigourney Weaver, William Hurt, Brendan Gleeson, Bryce Dallas Howard in her feature debut. Star-studded, I think, may be an understatement. This film follows a community that's cut off from the outside world by the woods, in which they believe dangerous creatures exist. They have an uneasy truce with these creatures. If they stay out of the woods, they are left unharmed. But when one of the young villagers becomes ill, the boy who loves her ignores the elders of the village to make a bid to the next town to fetch medicine. And just in case you've never seen The Village at this point, I want to get really analytical about this thing. It's Shyamalan. So that will require me to delve into some spoilers, so just in case, I fairly warned you. So right off the bat, the biggest positive that I can mention about The Village is this direction by M. Night Shyamalan. Once again, just absolutely superb. If his last three films are anything to go off of, this camera work was expected to be masterful going into The Village. Much like Signs, there is maximum tension with the cinematography from the master himself, Roger Deakins. And again, much like he does in Signs, there's a good amount of times where Night will leave imagery up to the interpretation of the audience. Not to mention, yet another brilliant top-notch score from James Newton Howard, which garnered him another Oscar nomination, by the way. All the performances in this film are rock solid. William Hurt, in my opinion, was the strongest of this ensemble. His presence and his poise are so unbelievable in here. Sigourney Weaver, Brendan Gleeson, both of those actors are very strong as per usual. I'm not even joking. This is legitimately the largest ensemble of actors that Shyamalan had assembled up to this point in his career. Now, Bryce Dallas Howard's debut is very good. She plays a blind girl who falls in love with a very quiet and subtle Joaquin Phoenix, also extremely great in the film. I will admit, and I'll give her a pass on this one because this was her first feature, she does tend to overact at certain points in The Village, especially as you get towards the finale. But it was certainly not the worst debut I've ever seen. Now, speaking of over the top, I mean, oh boy, yeah, let's talk about Adrien Brody. Jesus Christ. Listen, everybody, I think Adrien Brody is a phenomenal talent. Usually, if he's in a movie, I'm gonna love his performance, especially if Wes Anderson is attached. But here, he plays this mentally challenged young man who has a thing for Bryce Dallas Howard's character, and I'm sorry, I found it extremely offensive the way he approached this part. And that's especially when I'm considering how many close people in my life are actually on the spectrum. Ugh, it just didn't sit right with me how he was written to be villainized. And this all brings me into my personal biggest issue with The Village, and this will start to become a trend in these Shyamalan reviews, you'll notice. The story. Now, there's clearly some evidence that as a filmmaker, Shyamalan was heavily influenced by Alfred Hitchcock, especially with Psycho, which I reviewed last Halloween on the channel. Just saying. If you recall, in Psycho, we're introduced to Marion Crane. We think she's gonna be the main character, but no, she's stabbed halfway through the movie. In The Village, we're introduced to Joaquin Phoenix. We think he's gonna be the main character, and then what happens to him? He's stabbed halfway through the movie by Adrien Brody. I mean, if you're inspired by a film to try that stuff out on your own, that's fine. I don't know about you guys, I just felt this was so blatantly obvious. And I think if that was the intent to do something like Psycho, I would have wanted those other characters other than Joaquin Phoenix to be way more investing and interesting. Because once Joaquin Phoenix was stabbed, I hate saying this, I lost a lot of interest. And this all kind of plays into another issue I had. This twist twist ending, his coup de grace, Shyamalan's signature on his paintings, if you will. Now, the first time I watched this, I'm gonna be completely honest, I was expecting more of a period thriller. It almost feels like something Robert Eggers would love to make these days. But it turns out that the creatures aren't alien-like monsters at all. They're just costumed-up villagers. Adrien Brody ends up wearing a costume. He stalks Bryce Dallas Howard into the woods. Oh, and then he falls off the edge of the... Okay, like, if you thought the ending of Signs was anticlimactic, you had no idea what you were in for in 2004. And this is where it gets even worse. The village turns out not to be a period piece at all. The village is actually closed off from the modern urban Philadelphian world. Now, I'll give him credit where it's due. On paper, this may seem like a good idea, but A, the marketing really didn't present this as such. It was presented to us almost like it was going to be this stone-cold thriller, and I'm sure a lot of people were disappointed by all the romance in this. And B, I'm sorry, I love Shyamalan, but the way this script was written just feels so ass-backwards, especially in the way this twist is presented. Now, despite everything I've just said, and despite the many issues surrounding this film, this is nowhere near the bottom of the barrel for Shyamalan. I still think there's a lot to admire about it. It's nowhere near train wreck level cinema. Like, if you have the best cinematographer alive attached to your project, there's no way the film isn't at least decent, and that's exactly what The Village is. It's decent. And the direction certainly shines in this one. Shyamalan continued to prove that his prowess behind the camera was undeniable back in the early 2000s. All that being said, I'm gonna give The Village a C+. Now here's the deal, guys. I know a lot of people really despise this film. It really isn't Shyamalan's worst film he's ever made, though. Which, again, we'll get there. We'll get through it together, guys. But, as always, this is just one guy's opinion. What do you guys think of The Village? Do you agree with me? Do you not? Is this the most disappointed you've been in a Shyamalan film? What do you think was his most anticlimactic twist? As always, I love starting the discussion with you guys about cinema and all things entertainment and making these videos. So let's go ahead and continue that discussion down in the comments. And hey, if this is your first visit on the channel today, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button down below as hard as you possibly can. It's completely free. You can always change your mind later, and I promise you, you won't regret it. And one more reminder to hit that thumbs up on your way out. That would be even more helpful. And as always, guys, look out for more exciting content hitting this channel very soon. I've got a lot of new releases to catch up on, and we're also going to be continuing this Shyamalan series in the build-up to Old coming out next month. Now, up next on the docket, according to his list here, and oh, shit, Lady in the Water. It's all gonna start to go downhill from here, isn't it? But yeah, stay tuned for that review and much more, guys. Y'all are the best. And with all that being said, back talk, commence.